right. It's great to see everybody. Y'all have heard me say it in the last probably month. I've never been more excited about a season for a lot of reasons. Roster talent, but more than anything, just the men that we brought in to this building and the growth of the guys returning and all the new guys. Man, we're really excited for the new coaches and the new players to experience their first game in Jones AT&T. Red Raider Nation has not disappointed. Shill and Mac say it all the time. They went to the first basketball game. They're like, man, we've never seen anything like this. They, go the other day to the kickoff luncheon, and you have the equipment trucks in there and just the pageantry of that event, and they're blown away. And so I told them, the best place in the country to watch a football game is Jones AT&T and being a part of it. And so can't wait to see everybody Saturday. We'll be ready. We got work to do. Got a big week. I know the guys are really excited, but cannot wait to get to Saturday and finally get this season underway. So with that, open up with any questions.
A game week and your team moves from speculation and hype to reality. What are the three biggest changes fans will see this year from your team?
I think just one will be the size of the team as a whole. I think we're as athletic as we have ever been, especially since I've been here. And then one thing that we talk about all the time is whenever people watch the game, when they turn on the tape, when they turn on the TV, the oh my gosh factor of like how hard these guys play. We talk about it all the time. A team that truly cares about each other plays for each other. They play at a different level. And so I'm expecting our guys to play extremely hard on Saturday.
Who's the unsung hero from this team, that diamond in the rough?
We kind of talked about it this morning on the podcast. The guy that I probably haven't talked about enough that I think has been the biggest improvement from last year to this year is Sheridan Wilson, our center. He's for one, he's really taken ownership in that room, being a leader in that room, and then it just overall as a football player has really gotten better and better, and I think that you'll see that on Saturday, but he'll grow throughout the season, and he's going to have a really good year for us.
Who's the preseason MVP from the fall camp for offense and defense?
God, that's a good question. I would say Cam Dickey on offense. I've been really impressed with him. It's tough in that room because that's a very talented room. Defense, I would say John Curry.
That's what I was going to ask you about. John Curry being listed as the starter at Star. What did he do to earn that designation?
First, great hat. Love the hat. Yeah, love the hat. We were a little banged up at safety. And so I think him going out there, and he's got a high football IQ. He's got a high care factor, not only for his teammates, for this university. And the one thing that I was so impressed is him tackling in space. You're going from the box, and I know the linebackers have to tackle in space, but it's just not as much space unless they're just running to the sideline. And so I was impressed with the way he tackled, and the way he committed to that position. And so he earned the right to start this week. You're going to see him play both positions. You're going to see him play inside, and you're going to see him play that star position. Because we are healthy, AJ and Dingle are back, and so we're going to get those guys going. But John has earned the right to start at that position, and so we put them in that spot, and he'll continue to play it, depending on each week of personnel-wise how much we'll play him there. But we're definitely going to start him there.
There's a lot of competition on the offensive line this offseason. Can you explain those starters, and then who else should we expect to see in the game?
Yeah, Howard Sampson really from day one, whenever we got started, solidified himself as left tackle. Will Jadis played a lot of different positions. I think when you talk to different people, they see him as a guard and a tackle. He reminds me he's different because he's probably not as athletic, but he's more physical than Caleb Rogers, who is a a pick for the Raiders. But putting those guys, he felt more comfortable on the left side, and then putting those guys together. I mean, it's a really physical side on the football. Sheridan, held that center spot. I mean, some of this a little bit, like Vinny was banged up through camp, and Hunter Zambrano, and Vinny's back. He'll practice. He practiced last week and have a full practice tomorrow. Hunter Zambrano, same way, and he's back. He practiced all last week, and he'll practice tomorrow. So I think a little bit with injuries, nagging injuries, there was less oars. But my expectation, you're going to, our starters are Howard and Will, Sheridan, Davion, and Jacob Ponton. But I expect, and it's going to be really, I think, all the way through going into that first game against Utah, you're going to see Hunter Zambrano, Danny Seal. When Cash Cleveland's back, we'll see Cash. You'll see Vinny Scurry. Those guys will be in the mix of playing, early in the games whenever we have opportunities.
Coach, can we get your thoughts on Arkansas Pine Bluff?
Yeah, one, I love their coaching staff. I listened to the head coach, Coach Hampton. I listened to a couple of his press conferences. He got great energy. I think he and I would get along pretty well. The other reason we get along is because he's a high school coach, former high school coach. And, man, you guys know I love former high school coaches doing it at this level. Don't know him, know his OC a little bit. His OC actually was a high school coach in Louisiana and coached with Juice and KP at Kansas. I was up in my office watching different games, and the tough thing is with this week is, and it's like this at a lot of places, you can see schematically what they do. But you really don't know yet who you're playing with the transfer portal and depending on when the depth chart comes out. And so it'd be interesting of like who they start at quarterback. I mean, he even made a comment in one of his press conferences, might not put out a depth chart, so they have to prepare for everybody. And we'll be prepared. I think, they've got a really good running back, very athletic. He's got good speed. He's going to be a physical runner. They have good size in the offensive line, and they're going to be physical on defense and run to the football. I will tell you, you're going to hear this every week this year. Behind closed doors, we say it all the time, but I'm going to say it to y'all. It's not who we're playing. It's about us. It's like literally, are we going to be the team that we're supposed to be? How close can we mesh? How much chemistry we have? I feel great about where we are with that, but it's going to be more about us and us taking care of the football. I talked to our team about it yesterday. I'm going to show them clips tomorrow, but one of the biggest things week one is eliminating bad football. If you watched any games this last week, week 0, week 1, one of the biggest standouts is sloppy football. It usually always happens because we're the only level of football that doesn't get a preseason game and, your scrimmages and everything for some crazy reason. And so there's sloppy football. And what we're going to try to do is make sure we eliminate the bad football and the sloppy football on Saturday.
Saturday's the 100th anniversary of the Going Band from Raiderland. They'll have over 1,000 members on the field at halftime. Can you just talk how important the Going Band is to the Texas Tech football experience?
Well, they know how much I love them, and, man, that just means we got more tubas. I'm a huge tuba fan, and y'all know March Grandioso is my favorite band song. Some people might not see this. If you're over on our tunnel, you do. When I go in pregame before, the very last time, I start yelling at the band, trying to get them going, and they're starting to chant Joey and all that stuff. I mean, I don't know if there's a bigger fan. And they, the thing about football that's so different than every other sport is the pageantry. Football is an event. Well, you only get to do it one time a week. And everything that goes with it, from the Palm Squad to our cheer team to our band, There's nothing like it, and I don't think there's anything like it anywhere in the country whenever you put all that together and get to experience on game day. So I can't wait. If there's 1,000 men, I hope they're playing loud whenever Arkansas Pine Bluffs has the football, and it's really loud in there.
Coach,
I can't wait to see how many tubas we have. God, that fires me up.
Coach, there have been instances in the past where you said you felt like you or your team let off the gas a little bit in terms of play calling and aggressiveness. How aggressive do you intend to be from the first quarter through the fourth quarter at this first game?
Yeah, we'll be like that all year long. You know, Mac, you can ask him, but he talks about it all the time, of scoring from far, of being more explosive. I think the two outside receivers especially are going to bring that into play. We were going through the depth chart, and, man, we're really long, have great size in every position of our skill when you're talking about the tight ends and the receivers. I mean, we're a pretty large group when you're talking about those guys. The thing, too, that I think you have to understand in this day and age is, whoever's in there, you're evaluating not only for this week and next week and next month, but if it's a young guy, you're evaluating 6 months from now of the roster and the way revenue sharing is in the portal. And so I think you've got to play it that way. You've got to get a really good look of what you have as a football team. And so I think it's important that we come out and play well every single week and, start fast and finish really well in the fourth quarter.
With that being said, how much experimentation do you feel like you're going to be doing week one in terms of maybe having a guy that's fourth on the depth chart getting some more playing time?
Well, not the tough thing, but let's just take the front seven, but let's take the front four. We go three deep, and every one of those guys has played college football, and the majority of them has started. So our number three has started football games for us. I think that's going to be very beneficial. It's not just week one. I mean, it's going to be week 4 against Utah. It's going to be week 6 against Houston. How many guys we can rotate and how fresh we could be and how fast we could play. We have not had that across the board like we have right now. And so feel real comfortable, who's going to be in there. We'll play a lot of guys. On the defensive side of the ball, we always play a lot of guys, but there's going to be even more playing now with the depth we have on that defensive side of the ball.
And then can you break down the kick returner spot? Obviously, Micah getting that start and Jacoby next to him.
Yeah, a little bit of that. Quentin's out for the year, Joyner, and that brings in that running back room. I know Kenny talked about it a little bit, that we kind of shake up a little special teams. Micah was number 2 behind Jacoby, but with that shake up, we're going to give Micah the start there, and he'll do a great job for us.
Coach, when you look at week 1 last year in terms of preparation, do you feel like
the nearly heart attack I had week 1? I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Has there been anything, just looking back, that you would like to correct in that week leading up to it, so maybe you avoid something like that happening again?
I think one thing that will help is there's not going to be 6 starters on the offensive side of the ball that played for us. There's not the familiar. They're not as familiar with us and the attention that they had. But if you watched this last week, Maverick had a great game at Western Kentucky, so he's a pretty good quarterback. And Rick Bowie, who was the offensive coordinator at Abilene Christian, is now the offensive coordinator at Western Kentucky, and he had a really good game plan. So, a really good football team. Coach Patterson did a great job. Man, I think it's, honestly, I think it's every year's different with what kind of team you have. We have a very old veteran team, and I will be shocked if our older guys allow this team not to be ready to play Saturday. This is a player-led team. And we have allowed them to lead this and help me make sure that everything's going in the right direction. I met with Barron, Bryce and Jacob this morning. Not about a lot of stuff, just checking on the locker room and talking about different times that we can meet and everything. But this group is an older group. There are some guys that really know how to prepare for the game.
Looking at kickers at a situation like last year, that you expect the competition to go into the season.
Now, I would be shocked if it goes past the 3 non-conference games. I think it's going to be more like year one whenever Trey Wolf won the job, and we went with him. It's honestly, Stone Arrington has, competed at a really high level. He has been another big surprise. He's got a huge leg. When you talk to kicking coaches, they talk about his talent. But his first couple years, whenever he'd be kicking great, and then all of a sudden I would get out there next to him and he'd start shanking balls and get nervous. And I've tried every way possible to shake that kid over the camp to see if he really has grown, and he has. So, Upton has a leg up on everybody. Just from the standpoint, he's done it at a high level in game situations, but we're going to let those two go out and get after it. But, one person that's been a really huge pickup for us that I think is made these guys compete at a high level, I think it's put pressure on Jack, is Ian. I mean, if Ian goes out there and kicks a field goal, he's done it in, Big 12 games. He kicked one against us last year at Arizona State, and then he's put a lot of pressure on Jack to make sure he's locked in punting. So I think, he's an older guy that, understands his role and has really helped that room grow.
Coach Justin and Emily and Joe.
Coach, you touched on it a little bit on depth on the team that you have this year. But how critical are the next few weeks going to be for the coaching staff to kind of utilize that depth and figure out where it works before you take that trip out to Salt Lake City?
Yeah, it's going to be huge. We've got to take advantage of these games of the guys that we think can play, the guys that we know can play, the guys like I've probably said this guy's name more than anybody, but like Cheddar. I mean, like, what are we going to see in game? We know what we see in practice. Sometimes practice you get real, the guys, how they're going to pass set and everything like that, and I think he'll continually study and get better, but, you don't see a lot of, like, who are you going to go against this first week? We got to see some of our young guys like that. Are they going to play the way they've practiced? And so I think it's really important to get those guys in the game. He's in the rotation, so it's not like we're going to have to try to get him in the game. He's ready to go, whether it's going in the third series or him going in the first series if it's a long drive and we're trying to stay fresh. But guys like that, we need to see how they're going to play.
And then my last one for you, Coach. Obviously, you didn't want to see Quentin go down, but
Yeah.
How critical is it to have Adam be your third guy when he had such a great offseason to kind of have that guy fill in, especially with the injuries that happen?
Yeah, the thing whenever you're talking about running back, I mean, the rush skills are really important, but the thing that people miss the most is the protection, of protection of the quarterback, of blitz pickup. I mean, we were really fortunate and kind of spoiled because we had the best back in the country whenever it came to, catching the ball out of the backfield, but also the blitz pickups and everything like that, and Taj Brooks. I think that's one thing that really helps Adam and makes us feel better from the standpoint of he's, 230 pounds. He's a really smart player. He's been in that room, so he knows the offense really well. And so if he's back there on third down as far as blitz pickup, he's a really physical kid, and so feel good about him.
Go to Emily in the back.
So last season on College Game Day, Nick Saban was talking, and he said a quote that stuck with me about Ohio State and their $20 million roster. He said, "You can pay all the right players, but if you can't coach them, you're out of luck."
Yeah.
Now, heading into this season, you all have the most expensive roster in college football. Do you feel that pressure? And if so, how do you manage it?
God, that's a good question. it's interesting because I think some people might have us beat on who's the most expensive roster, but nobody will admit it. But to answer your question, I honestly I feel very fortunate to have the team that we have. I love our team. I love our roster. I love how close they are. But I feel the exact same that I have, from year one to now is like, I expect to win. I expect to win on Saturday. We expect to win the next Saturday. We're really fortunate that we have a very deep team. We have a lot of the right pieces in place, and they're really. I think they're ready to play more than anything because they're tired of hearing the talk about the roster and everything like that. But at the end of the day, don't think we won't use that to fuel the team because there'll be enough people whenever we get into different games. And, this might be one of them that they'll be talking about, like what we spent and how good we are, or, hey, y'all really aren't that good. I think people will find out this is a really good team.
Coach, you had Duda Banks go down last year against Baylor. Talk to me about his recovery and what kind of player Duda Banks is and what kind of player Tech's getting back on the defensive front with what we have now.
Yeah, I'm excited. He's excited. He's knocked the rust off. We were talking the other day. He hadn't played in a football game. There's a couple guys like that and hadn't played in a football game in a while, and he's really excited. You'll see him at nose guard. You'll see him at the defensive tackle spot. I wouldn't be surprised throughout the year if we use him in a couple different ways too, if even the field in and some bigger packages to get those guys on the field. He feels good. He's had a really good camp. And whenever you're looking at that group, y'all think about it. We put a depth chart. I probably should have put him on there, but we put a depth chart together. We go 3 deep all the way across, and Amir Washington is not on that depth chart, and he started multiple games last year. Which, again, I should have put him on there because he's had a really good, really good fall. So I think the one thing we're going to be able to do throughout the season, not this week, throughout the entire season, is we've got some really good depth and some high-quality football players like Duda Banks, and we're going to be able to play a lot of guys. He's excited. Cole Wisniewski is excited. I know Dingle's excited, but he's always excited. But he's excited because, he's playing a position that he had a great spring at, and so there's some guys either coming back or younger guys that haven't played a lot that are really excited to play on Saturday.
Coach Jeff, then we'll finish with Don.
Coach, from an athletic perspective, how different was Barron this offseason and this fall camp compared to what you have seen in the past? Like, what are some of the things that you saw him do for the first time in training camp that you're like, there's the Barron Morton we thought we were going to have?
Yeah, I think the pace on his football is one of the biggest things. He did a good job last year, and I don't necessarily think he would tell you more than me about the movement and different things that he was having to do, how much it bothered him to do that. But like you just see a guy that's like, honestly, you see the guy that his ankle wasn't sprained in the first half against Oklahoma State, my very first year. That's what you see. You see a guy that is running around, feels great. The ball's coming out of his hand. He's got a really, really good feel for this offense. I think he and Mac have become really close and have great conversations of what we can do. And then he's also a guy that knows that he's got some really good football players around him and wants to take advantage of it.
All right, finish this up there, Don.
So following up on what Emily was asking you about a moment ago about your roster and y'all spending, one of the anonymous quotes about your roster and spending was Texas Tech messed it up for everybody.
Yeah.
By spending so much more than whatever perceived market value was.
Right.
Do you think there are going to be people out there who, when they turn on a Texas Tech game this year and it's close in the second half, are going to be rooting for whatever team is playing Texas Tech because of that?
Yeah, no doubt. I know they are. And, I think – I hope they are. I hope they put it out there. We're going to use it like crazy, because I think it's and I don't think any of y'all have done this at all, and I appreciate it. But I think it's the easy and lazy way out of saying all that stuff because you don't know what's going on in this. And again, I don't mean y'all. People do not know what's going on in this building and how close. It is amazing to walk into the cache and see. I walked in one morning and it's Trent Lowe, Sean Robinson, Dylan Singleton, and then I think like Trey Jackson. And you got guys from South Dallas, Louisiana, San Antonio, Midland, sitting there eating breakfast together just because they want to be around each other versus, if I'd have walked in there and I've been on different teams at different places, you walk in there and those four guys might be spread out eating by themselves and they're sitting in there together. Like this is a really, really close group. And, you don't hear a lot of in locker room talk about anything but wanting to win and caring about each other. So if it's out there and people are rooting against us, then it's going to be good and we're going to use it. And it's going to be interesting who it is that's rooting against us. I always think it's funny if like people say we overspin on this and that. And I know the real conversations that were being had with Lee Hunter on different teams, and they were offering him more than what we offered him. And he's a Red Raider. And I know that people, after we had our guys committed and everything, were calling and saying, hey, we'll offer you this much more for you to come visit, and they're Red Raiders. And so it's we'll embrace it, and we just got to take care of business and back up who we think we are.
A moment ago you said that you thought there was other teams that had spent more on their roster than Texas Tech. How many?
Well, I think Texas has. I think Texas would tell you they probably did. But, I read something the other day. One case, LSU had said they spent this much, and then the next report came out and said they spent this much. I think it was $18 million. Man, I find it hard to believe if certain people are ranking their portal class ahead of ours and they took more people out of the portal, then it would be a less amount of roster. And they also had paid their quarterback to come back. I mean, you got to think about that. I mean, y'all saw some of these numbers of quarterbacks that what they were getting paid or what they're supposedly getting paid for. I think there's a lot of people out there that are not truly saying what their roster is and everything like that. And so it really doesn't matter, man. I'm happy with the guys we have and never had so much fun in my life, and we just got to continue it. I mean, it's all about how we play every Saturday and doing what we're supposed to do.
Another question about return game and Roy Alexander. You mentioned Jacoby. With the running back depth being thin, maybe changing a little bit the plan for Jacoby. Roy, you had mentioned also has the body to be a running back. What's your thoughts on his usage?
Yeah, we won't have him do anything this week there, but we are going to have some stuff for him. I mean, we got some different guys on our roster that have done it, out of high school and everything like that. But Roy had some carries at Wildcat quarterback last year for Incarnate Word, and then I'm also excited to see him punt return. Whenever he came on his visit, I was like, man, I'm surprised you didn't. He was some kickoff return. He goes, well, I was the number one receiver, so they didn't use me as much on special teams. And I said, well, get ready to be used on special teams at Texas Tech. I mean, we've got a roster that we're going to be able to, showcase you that way, and you're going to be able to do it. And he's excited about that because all these guys know if you can't play special teams in college, you have no chance to play in the NFL. You might as well forget about your dream unless you're, the left tackle that's 6'8", 340 pounds, and he's probably not playing a lot of special teams. But Roy, there's going to be stuff that we do with him in a lot of different ways to utilize. I mean, he's like at 200 to 205 pounds, and if you look at him, he looks like he'd be a running back. All right, thank y'all. Great seeing y'all.
Hello, everybody. How's it going? Great.
Week one, and we move from speculation and hype to reality. What are the three biggest changes fans will see this year?
Oh gosh, that's hard for me to answer accurately, I guess, because I haven't really spent a ton of time on what took place last year, to be honest with you, since I got here. What I do think they'll see, not in maybe comparison to last year, but what I think they'll see 11 guys on the field defensively. They're going to play really hard. I hope they're going to see guys that are going to play with great leverage on the football, in the passing game, in the running game, and hopefully those are things that they'll be proud of and excited to watch.
So who is the preseason MVP on the defensive side?
Can't answer that. I think that we've got a lot of guys that have done a great job through the whole offseason and through training camp, that have worked hard to get better every day. To name one guy would be unfair. I think that our guys love football. I think the guys that are doing some really good things at each position are the ones that have skill, but they're also the ones that are dedicated. They're doing great in the position meeting rooms. They're studying extra on their own. They're being pros in terms of how they're taking care of their body, the routine that they're in every day. Coach McGuire harps on that all the time. So I think we've got a lot of guys that have done a great job from that standpoint.
You've said in previous press conferences that stats are for losers, other than winning. What is the stat if you keep Pine Bluff to under 200 yards? Would that make you happy?
The thing that's going to make me happy is, do we come out and give phenomenal effort and run to the ball better than any team in America on Saturday? That's going to make me the most proud. And I think that if we're doing those things, then there's a lot of other stuff that's going right for us. The assignment piece of it, in terms of being aligned correctly, having our eyes in the right spot, so that we can execute after the ball snap, and understanding the angles that we need to take, where the point of attack of the play is, and how that affects the matchup that we have individually on the field. Those are the things that I'm going to be looking at, as opposed to maybe the results. I think that the results will take care of themselves if we play really hard with great attention to detail, a sense of urgency. Those are the things that I think, as a coaching staff, that we'll look for this Saturday.
Coach, what are you expecting from Pine Bluff's offense?
I think they're going to be a team that's going to be kind of a spread team, a lot of 11 personnel, so one back, one tight end in the game. They're going to run a lot of inside zone. They'll mix that run game up with a little bit of wide zone, maybe a little bit of gap scheme, a lot of RPOs off of their run game. They'll try to tempo you at times after a made first down, maybe also in a second down situation as well. They'll give you some different variances as far as their splits and spacing. They'll give you some over splits. They'll give you some normal splits. They'll give you some condensed splits. They'll try to create some bootlegs that give you some run-pass conflict, unbalanced formations, and then on third down, they'll probably try to do a nice job of seeing where they're at on the field, the situation in the game, and trying to determine where they want to run the ball and maybe some passing situations and those types of things. So what I do like about our preparation for them, I think that they give us a lot of opportunities to work against motion adjustments, against different splits and spacing of formations and things that we need to continue to work and get better at. So that's been a fun challenge for us as we've headed into this first ball game.
Coach, there's been a lot of talk about the transfers and even the defensive linemen, but we haven't heard a whole lot about AJ, with you knowing him and him being highly productive last year at Houston. What are you expecting from him this season?
I'm expecting a great year for AJ. He has done a tremendous job since he stepped on this campus. He's gotten so much better. He was a good player for us last year, and since he's been here at Texas Tech, he has really elevated his game to a different level from what I've witnessed. And I think that is a credit to him and his work ethic and his maturity. I also think that the guys in our defensive line room and our defensive line coaches have done a tremendous job, I think, of bringing that out in him. Those guys, the players in that room have been tremendously positive for their peers, and I think they're helping elevate everyone's game. So he's got he has really improved in his fundamentals in the run game, and I think he's done a really nice job of improving his fundamentals and techniques in terms of pass rush. So he has worked extremely hard and been very, very proud of his progression through the offseason and in camp, and excited to see him have what I think will be a really outstanding year for us defensively.
Coach McGuire mentioned the depth at the defensive tackle position and just how much you can truly rotate that position in terms of from the 3 all the way up to the 1. But what does that number actually look like in terms of how often Duda Banks is on the field compared to how often like an A.J. Holmes is on the field?
I think we're going to figure that out as the season goes on. You know, we've kind of got a pecking order right now going into the game. Obviously, first team, second team, third team. But every year, my experience has been it takes you a little bit of time in those early ball games to really kind of solidify how much a guy needs to play. This guy needs to play a lot. This guy needs to play in certain situations, or he needs to play this percentage. And this guy's maybe a guy that we can contribute 5 to 10 reps a game, or maybe in a substitution package. So I think it's too early to tell. And I know that whatever plan you think you have as a coaching staff coming into an early season game, you just evolve and adapt as you see the results on the field, and those guys show what they're capable of doing when it's live and in color. But I do think that we will fall back to our training and the preparation that our guys have had and the things that they've shown in practice. Those are the things that we're going to see on game day.
And then you mentioned previously that Brendan Jordan, the strong safety position, is going to have the green dot on the helmet. Can you break down the difference in responsibilities for him and then for Jacob Rodriguez, who had it last year?
I just think in this system, our safeties have a lot of communications that they need to make in terms of support calls, who's the in-run force player, and also the pass techniques that we're playing, the motion adjustments, and that really goes strong safety and free safety. They're kind of the ones back there with a lot of those types of things on their plate. So having a little bit extra help, and then for BJ being the guy that's primarily playing to the wide side of the field, where maybe sometimes you have to deal with some of that a little bit more, just makes sense with how we're structured to do it. And then I think our safeties coach, Rob Green, does a phenomenal job of giving those guys a little bit of assistance or a tip and reminder, hey, be prepared for this in this situation and so forth. And I may have mentioned this before, but for me as a play caller, I'm just trying to get us into the next best play. And for me to try to do that and analyze the situations and the flow of the game, and then to also communicate with the linebacker, I don't think is the best, for me in my role. So I think just a good fit for us having that with the strong safety position.
You'll be on the sidelines for games. What is that? How do you come to that point where that's your decision? Like, what is the benefit for you being on the sidelines as opposed to the press box? Is it kind of a player feel throughout the game, being right there with them? What kind of goes into that for you?
I had this question come up a couple days ago at a kickoff event. My head coach, Mike Ayers, in college when I was a player at Wofford and then coached for him for 8 years. I remember early in my career talking with him when I was a defense coordinator at Wofford for him and trying to decide, box or field. And I remember Coach just saying, if you know what you're looking for, you can see what you need to see on the sideline. I think he's exactly right. There's pros and cons. Yes, up top you have maybe a little bit better vantage point to see all 22 every rep and scan some of those things. But at the end of the day, I think that you can see what you need to from the sideline. And so that being the case, the advantage in my estimation for me, and the thing that I like, is being able to communicate directly with the players in between drives or in a drive, look them in the eye. Also be able to, as a coordinator, walk between position groups at times and discuss some things. What are you seeing on the field? What do we need to do? Making adjustments, and that's the biggest part of it. I think just the communication aspect and being able to touch any player and be able to communicate with anybody directly on the field is a positive.
Coach, with your success that you had in turning around Tulane's defense, and then last year turning around Houston's defense into a top 25 defense, what are some of the lessons or principles that you've learned from those experiences that you plan to apply to this season as you head into the regular season?
I think every year you're trying to do the best job you can, especially in year one, of just getting everybody on the same page, starting with the coaching staff. So the experience for me, I never would have envisioned in my career that I would have kind of, these last couple of years, I would have moved around like it's worked out for me. But I guess the positive from that standpoint is I've had to come in and put in a new system and get a new group of coaches together on the same page, do the same thing with the players. And so I think just like anything in life, there's no substitute for experience and reps. And so probably just being a little bit wiser and understanding maybe some of the things that I didn't do well, learning from some of the mistakes that I've had over the last couple of years and trying not to make those same mistakes again. That's kind of the approach that I've had.
Coach, what did John Curry do to stand out at the star position? Is it more what he did during preseason camp, or is part of that your opponent as well?
No, it's just absolutely all in his preparation and everything that he's done in the offseason. I mean, it's been pretty evident that he's a guy that can make a lot of plays for us. He's got the physical skill set that you want at the second level, and then his processing ability and ability to learn assignment, ability to understand concepts has made it really easier for him to be a guy that has kind of been able to overlap positions for us. Just played the will linebacker position in the spring. Coming into camp, we had opportunities for him to work at star a little bit that just kind of evolved based off a couple other factors that came up. And when he got those opportunities, he went out there and did a great job. And just as he continued to do that, it became apparent that he could be productive at that star position in addition to playing inside linebacker. So our intent is for him to be able to play both in each game, and it's a credit to him. It's not easy to learn one position and master that and do it really well, much less try to overlap. We try to do that with a good amount of our guys, and at some point in their career give them opportunities, whether that's in a base package, a substitution package, to expand their role based on how they develop in the timeline and then the needs that we have. But for him at this point in his career and at this point in our development with this defense, to be able to do so well so quickly has been great to see, and it's a credit to him. He'll continue. There's still stuff that he's got to get better at. He's not a finished product in any stretch of the imagination, and that goes the same for our entire defense. But he's done a really good job, and is excited to see what he's going to do for us.
Coach, when you think about setting the tone early, is it more about creating turnovers, getting stops on third down, or just playing clean, disciplined football?
I think setting the tone early is playing hard, playing pads out ball, playing downhill. And when we talk about those things, it just means playing fast. When you're playing downhill, that means that your assignment, where your eyes need to be, where you need to align. You've gone through and done a great job communicating with your teammates on whatever aspect of communication you need to have before the ball snap. You got a great anticipation of what's going to happen before it happens, and then you're able to read and react quickly. So playing downhill, that may be you're going backwards in a pass drop, but you're playing downhill in terms of reading and reacting quickly, executing your job at a high rate of speed. And when you're doing those things, then I think the results take care of themselves, and I think you're usually pretty happy with those results.
Anyone else before we let go? Don?
She'll, regarding David Bailey, you kind of had to hit the ground running with him their second half of spring practice. What have you kind of learned about him these last few months, and what stands out to you the most?
Great athlete, loves the game, tremendous work ethic, has ability to come in and learn multiple positions, kind of like we're talking about with John, overlap in terms of position flexibility, although there's a lot of carryover in the positions that he's kind of flexing to for us. To not have gone through a full spring practice with us. He has gotten up to speed quickly. He's got a great skill set in terms of coming off the edge. He's strong in the run game as an edge defender. He's done a great job, from a pass rush standpoint, and couldn't be more happy with his work ethic and his ability to, his alignment with our team coming in, and they've done a great job welcoming him to the family as well.
At cornerback, y'all have talked about how you have 4 guys that could be starters there. How much, if any, whoever starts and whoever is the twos, how much, if any, rotation do you think will happen there?
I think that, in these first several games, I think coaches will probably plan to rotate their guys, a decent little bit between the first and the second string. Not necessarily at every spot, but at certain spots. That's going to happen. I think corners position where Coach McBath may want to go that route as well. And those are discussions that we have as a staff defensively. But, we'll just kind of see how it goes and the flow of the games and all that. But I do mean what I said earlier. I mean, we've got some guys that have at that position that have done a good job and will come in and whoever's in there I think will play at a high level. All right, thank y'all.
Other than Barron, who are the three key players on offense for you this year?
Man, three would be that's a hard to pinpoint three guys. Yeah, I think maybe looking at returning guys, I think Caleb Douglas just being a big play guy on the edge. I think the duo at running back between Cam Dickey and Jacoby Williams, those two guys playing well. And then probably up front, Sheridan Wilson. I think a guy, just the center controls a lot of what we do in pass protection and in the run game where our IDs are. And so that guy being on point and playing well, I think is pretty key.
How has the running back room responded since Quentin has gone down, and what do you see from them as this first game comes?
Yeah, I think those guys have done a great job, and I think that's kind of really the culture around here too. I mean, somebody goes down, it's kind of it's the next man up, and we've done a great job. The personnel staff's done a great job developing depth at that position and having really quality guys. I mean, before Q got hurt, I thought we had three of the best backs in the Big 12 conference, and so I think Cam and Jacoby are more than capable to come in there and be a great 1-2 punch. And Coach Garrett, he's done a great job in that room developing those guys, continuing to get them better. And I think those two have responded well to Q getting hurt. Obviously, no one ever wants that, for somebody, and it's very unfortunate for him. But I think that they're ready for that challenge and they're excited for, what their role will be moving forward.
Speaking of excitement, what's the excitement for you for this first game and the excitement for the fans for a more vertical attack?
Yeah, I think, I can speak, for my excitement level. I think it's been really cool. I think that's one of my favorite parts about being here over the last however many 8 months, 9 months that I've been a Red Raiders. Just the excitement level and the passion that this fan base has, and so doing a couple of these events this week, like the kickoff luncheon, seeing all that and seeing the highlight videos, and it's made me ready for Saturday. So I can't wait to go out there and experience my first game in the Jones.
Coach, after the injury and then with having Dickey and Williams and Hill, who else are you looking at possibly getting snaps at running back for depth purposes?
Yeah, I mean, it'll be those three. We've moved over Mike Henderson from defense, and so he'll come in. He'll be our fourth back. You obviously never want to get to that situation where you're having to play four backs in a game, but he's a guy that we've moved over, and I thought he's done a great job. He's picked up the system really quick and in a short amount of time. So been really pleased with what we've seen from him in the limited time that we've had him on offense.
Does the loss of Q change how you call games or how you might call a series at all, looking at it from a broad perspective?
No, not really. To be honest, in my career, I've never had the luxury of having three really good backs like we had, and so for the most part, pretty much my past 3 years, we've played a majority of one guy, two guys. So really having three has never been a thing that I've had. So that won't affect how I call the game at all. I think both those guys have really good skill sets that fit what we do on offense, and so I won't have to change much. When we got Cam and Jacoby back there.
Coach, at the right tackle position, obviously Zambrano had dealt with some stuff over the offseason, but what was it about Ponton's offseason that pushed him into that starting role, and kind of what do you expect out of that when it comes to Saturday?
Yeah, I think he had a great fall camp. I think he gets tested every day against some of the best edge rushers in the country, and I think his athleticism, his length, his upside moving forward, I think is huge. I think that kid has all the talent in the world, and I think we're going to look up here in a couple weeks and be like, man, this kid's grown a lot, and he's a bona fide starting right tackle that you feel really good about. So I just think he has the talent that you want to be a starting tackle in this league, and has all the traits. And I think he's done a great job just trying to refine his skill set. He's still young. He still hasn't played a lot of football, and so just putting in the work and ironing out some of the details that he needed to clean up, from spring to now fall. And I think he's done a great job with that. So very pleased with how he played during fall camp.
And then for Coach Xavier White, obviously this is a big moment for him getting to coach back in his old stadium. What has it been like being around him? Is there any nerves for him? Kind of just give us a little insight to that.
Yeah, hopefully not too many nerves. He's got to signal some formations for us, so hopefully he's calm and composed and can do that. But X has been great to have on the staff. Obviously I think the guys in the locker room really respect him from his time as a player here, and the work that they saw him put in as a player, and I think that's just carried over to the way that he coaches. He has great relationships with all those players, and I think he's going to be a really good coach in the future.
Coach, with how explosive the offense is, there's no talking about that, but how important is it going to be early on in the third and short, in the fourth and short situations to really execute and not have anything go wrong in those situations?
Yeah, I think those are huge momentum plays. You look at a game and a big third down or fourth down stop for the defense, completely changes the momentum of a game. Whereas on offense, you're expecting to move the chains on third and one, right? And so us being able to execute and being dialed in on all the different looks that will get presented, and everybody playing clean assignment football is huge. And that's one of the things that Coach McGuire has emphasized. Going into week one, so much of this it'll be everybody's first time out there together on a game day. Just being able to eliminate bad football and us playing clean, for week one is huge. And so that'll be a focus for us for sure.
Coach, talk about your QB1 for a minute here. After the surgery and the rehab and all that, how do you expect Barron to operate 100%, and how excited do you think he is and where his mindset is at?
Yeah, he's definitely excited. Throughout fall camp, him just we're talking back and forth, and I can't tell you the amount of times that he's just said it feels so good to be back 100% and feel like he's back to being himself. And so I think he had a great fall camp. I thought, and a testament to him too, the work that he put in while he wasn't taking reps in the spring, and even the summer when he was a little bit limited, just the mental reps that he put in, learning the offense. We hit the ground running, on day one like he'd been there for the previous 6 months. So his operation of the offense has been great. I thought he's made great decisions all camp. And he's who you want at quarterback. He's the heartbeat of the offense. He's the guy that gets everybody going, and he doesn't miss practices. He battled through a little bit of a sprained ankle early in fall camp, and he's just a tough guy that the guys can kind of rally around. So can't say enough good things about number 2, and glad he's the one out there taking snaps for us.
In a highly prolific offense from last season, where do you feel that this unit has the greatest opportunity to take a step forward compared to last season?
Yeah, they did do a great job last season, and statistically they were really good, and I think probably the biggest area that we can improve on and that we're focused on is being great in the situations, right? That's what wins you football games at the end of the day. Having great total offense or points per game maybe is nice at the end of the year, and you look back, you're like, man, we had a great year, because I've been a part of offenses that have done all those things. But I think what separates you and what wins you and loses games is being great at situational football. So taking care of the football, not beating ourselves with penalties, I think is a big thing from last year. The situational football, third and short, fourth and short, being able to score touchdowns in the red zone, all those things over the course of the game add up. And so I think just taking a step with our guys' football intelligence and being able to execute in those critical moments will be huge.
Speaking on execution, is that your biggest point of emphasis for week one, execution or tempo?
Execution for sure. I mean, we want to play fast, but like I've said before, I never want to sacrifice our execution for our tempo. Now, I think we'll be able to do both, just because that's the way we've been training for the last 6 to 7 months, is be able to put our foot on the gas and go. But that, just like coach has harped on all week, we want to play clean, and so we don't want to have it our communication, pre-snap, alignments, talking from the quarterback to the receiver, everybody. Like, we don't want to go out there and have a bunch of penalties and guys getting cut loose up front because we're not communicating. So, I think the execution is definitely going to be at the forefront of what we're doing this week. That's going to be the focus.
Coach, since you hadn't been with a program that's Power 5, Power Conference football before, I was curious what it was like for you when you came in here and Tech is adding on your side of the ball Terrence Carter, Howard Sampson, Will Jados, Reggie Virgil, guys like that. I mean, you mentioned a moment ago that you're not used to having 3 good running backs.
Yep.
So it's no big deal to you.
Yeah, I think as a coach, anytime that you can add talented players, like all those guys that you just mentioned, that makes my job a lot easier. I've kind of found I haven't been coaching long, but I've found out the better players you have, usually the play calls work a little bit better. And so, it's my job to now that we have all those talented guys, find out what their skill set, what they do best. And I think we've done that over the course of spring and fall camp, and then be able to utilize those guys on Saturdays to maximize, what those guys are good at. So, yeah, I like having those guys on my side of the ball for sure.
All right, we're good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Coach.